How many times have you been told that God exists without giving an objective proof to support this massive claim? Almost every time, isn't it? The reason is not the absence of proof, but the difficulty in presenting it convincingly. Because proving the existence of God is not the same as, for example, proving that Pluto exists, which is again not the same as proving whether a black hole exists or electron exists. You see, proving that Pluto exists is relatively straightforward. You could point a powerful telescope towards it, and there you have it. Proving the existence of a black hole, however, takes us into the realm of indirect evidence, the gravitational pull on a nearby stars, and the warping of space-time. So if you say, I will believe in God when I see him, it is like saying you will believe in black hole only when you see it directly, which will never happen because the black hole, by definition, don't allow light to escape. And therein lies the lesson. The method of proving something must fit the nature of what you're trying to prove. And that is why in this video, I'll use a blend of deductive reasoning, logical analysis, and the detection of inconsistencies in human explanation to prove the existence of God. So let's cut the chase and present my argument. My argument is the Qur'an is not the work of any human being. If this claim holds true, it leaves us with only one explanation. This book comes from a divine origin, and therefore God exists. For this to be true, I will have to prove that this book could not have been written by any human being, which is quite difficult if you really think about it. But I will do so by presenting it in three parts: prophecies and scientific evidence, the magical pattern within the Quran, and finally is unmatched eloquence. So let's take this verse and assume that it was written by a human being. Do not the unbeliever see that the heavens and the earth were joined together as one unit of creation before we clove them asunder? We made from water every living things. Will they not then believe? It further goes on to say in chapter 51, we built the universe with great might, and we are certainly expanding it. These descriptions closely aligns with scientific understanding of the Big Bang, the idea that all matter was once a single unified entity before it expanded to form the universe as we know it. Let's pause and reflect. Suppose the Quran was not revealed by God, but written by a human being, perhaps Prophet Muhammad or someone else in the 7th century Arabia. This would mean that someone living in a desert 1400 years ago not only predicted the Big Bang, but also it stated with full confidence that the universe is expanding, something that wasn't scientifically validated until the 20th century with the advent of advanced telescope. Doesn't it sound completely implausible that a person in such an environment could accurately predict these groundbreaking scientific truths? But I understand one example can be called a coincidence. So here is more for you. It further says in the Quran, your guardian Lord is Allah who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days and is firmly established on the throne of authority. And in the chapter 41 it says, say, is it that you deny him who created the earth in 2 days? I want to clarify something here first. The Arabic word used for day is ayyam, which is often translated as days and does not necessarily refer to 24-hour earth days in the Quran. For instance, a heavenly day is described as 1,000 years of our time, and the day of judgment is said to span 50,000 years. This means that the 6 days of creation could refer to 6 vast eons or phases of time known only by Allah. But what is truly remarkable is in the Quran, it implies that the earth has existed for approximately 1/3 of the time since the universe came into existence. That will be impossible for anyone to guess in the 7th century. What does modern science say? A quick search reveals that the universe is approximately 13.7 billion years old, while the earth is around 4.5 billion years old. This means Earth's age is indeed roughly 1/3 of the universe age. The probability of accurately making such a statement without advanced tool or knowledge is astronomically low. To claim this as a mere coincidence would require one to abandon reason entirely. The next verse that I'm about to present will not just blow your mind, but it will absolutely put the discussion to bed, because it would be counterintuitive to make such a statement. It says in chapter 57, and we send down iron with its great might, benefit for humanity. Think about this for a moment. Iron rusts, it bends, it's found buried in the earth. So why would anyone in 7th century claim that iron was sent down rather than simply found on earth? Making such a statement would have been extremely risky. It would defy common understanding and potentially raise doubt about his credibility. But today we know about iron that it is not native to Earth. Instead, it is believed to have come from supernova explosion of a giant star making its way to Earth millions of years ago. Even more fascinating, iron has the most tightly bound nucleus of any element. It is incredibly strong at the atomic level, which aligns perfectly with the Quran description of iron possessing great might. And a bold statement like this is mentioned in Quran for water as well. The next evidence I'm about to present has led many scientists to accept Islam because they realize that this verse simply could not have been written by any human being, especially in the 7th century. It is about our brain. For centuries, it was thought that the frontal part of the brain handled vision simply because it is near the eyes. In the 20th century, advancement in brain scans and neuroscience revealed something astonishing. The part of the brain responsible for vision is actually located at the back, the occipital lobe. The frontal part of the brain, however, called the prefrontal cortex, is understood to play a crucial role in the decision making and, most interestingly, fabricating lies. What does the Quran says in chapter 96? A lying, sinful forelock. Think about this for a moment. If Prophet Muhammad had authored the Quran, he would have likely written what was commonly believed at that time. Because he didn't, and it came from divine source, 1400 years later, with modern neuroscience, we know the Quran precise statement. At this point, you might be wondering, what if the Quran copied all of this information from some lost ancient text? Or what if it's the work of an aliens? Or perhaps some form of advanced AI that existed and was later forgotten? These are reasonable assumptions that naturally comes to our mind. Okay, first we are talking about a book revealed in the 7th century, not some ancient text from 5,000 or 10,000 years ago. The state of knowledge and discovery in the 7th century is well documented. We know exactly what was understood at that time, and there is no record or mention of such advanced knowledge, certainly nothing resembling what the Quran contains. Second, copying does not guarantee accuracy. When you copy from an existing source, you risk duplicating errors, outdated beliefs, or even contradictions. Yet, the Quran, despite being revealed over 1400 years ago, contains not a single scientific contradiction or errors. Every claim aligns with modern discovery, leaving us with only one compelling conclusion, and you know it. But if you still think copying is a viable explanation, check out this section. In the Quran, nothing is random, not even the placement of a specific words or name. Take the word human as an example. It appears in the second verse of chapter 76. If you count the Arabic letter from the beginning of the verse, the word human occurs at precisely the 46th letter. Amazingly, 46 is the diploid chromosomes number in humans. But there is more. In the very first verse, where human is mentioned, it appears in the 9th position. Why is this significant? Because 23, the number of human chromosomes pair, is the 9th prime number. Similarly, if we analyze the 77th verse of the chapter 36, the word sperm is exactly located at 23rd position from the beginning of the verse. And what do we know about human sperm? It carries exactly 23 chromosomes. Coincidence? You could say that, but guess what? These numerical correlations are not unique to humans. They extend to other animals such as apes, bee, horse, and pigs. The last letter of the word apes exactly located in the 48th position, and 48 is the diploid chromosomes number of apes. Similarly, the word bee appears in verse 68 of chapter 16, and the last letter of the word bee is at the 16th position. Bee has 16 pairs or 32 chromosomes. The word horse, which appears in chapter 3 in verse 14, is exactly located at 64th position from the beginning of the verse, and 64 is the diploid chromosomes number of the horse. The same pattern continues with the word pig, which appears in chapter 5 verse 16. The last letter of pig is exactly 38 letters away from the end of the verse, and 38 is the diploid chromosomes number of pigs. And it even does not stop there. This astonishing correlation holds true for other animals mentioned in the Quran, including donkey, dog, camel, cow, sheep, and even the hippo. Here is the incredible part. Humans had no concept of chromosomes, let alone their numbers, in the 7th century. To think that such precise and consistent alignment could be crafted by any human being, intentionally or by chance, is beyond reason. Moreover, maintaining this level of structure across the Quran while referencing so many animals would be virtually impossible for any human author. That leaves us with only one option. But the interesting part is that there is a consistency of numbers for the things we readily observe and verify. For example, the word month is mentioned 12 times in the Quran, the same as the number of months in a year. The word day in singular form is mentioned 365 times. The plural form of days is mentioned 30 times in the Quran. The word prayer is mentioned 5 times. One of the things that amazes me the most about Quran is its incredible balance of what should be balanced. Because the Quran was revealed over a period of 23 years with no verse number, no chapter number. Verses were revealed at the same time from different chapters, usually according to the situation that was unfolding. Yet, despite this seemingly fragmented process, the Quran maintains a flawless balance and coherence that defies human ability. Let's look at these numbers together. Life and death are both mentioned 145 times each in the Quran, and so is this life and afterlife. Angels and demons, men and women, wish and fear, good deeds and wrongdoings, benefit and corruption, heaven and hell, water and land. Well, water is mentioned 32 times in the Quran and the land or earth is mentioned 13 times. You know what is interesting here? If you take the percentage ratio, it is the same ratio as the ratio of water versus the land on earth. Moving on, in chapter 3, God says, the similitude of Jesus before Allah is that of Adam. He created him from dust, then he said to him, be, and he was. This verse draws a parallel between Jesus and Adam. Amazingly, their names are mentioned the exact same number of times in the Quran, 25 times each. I want to finish my argument by giving one more example, an illustration of the mind-boggling complexity and precision within the Quran. Back in 7th century, everyone knew the brightest star in the sky, which was Sirius. What is remarkable about the Quran is that it gives the distance to the Sirius from Earth without even mentioning. It says, and that it is He who is the Lord of... If you count the number of Arabic letters from the word stars in verse 1 of this chapter to the word earth in the verse 32, the total is exactly 861 letters. Today, modern science tells us that Sirius is approximately 861 centi-light years away from Earth, or 8.61 light years away from Earth. The verse that we mentioned before, iron, if you count the number of words from the beginning of the Quran to the word iron, is 5100. Surprisingly, it turned out that the iron on Earth is concentrated at its core 5100 kilometers below the surface. And yes, the iron surah is 57th chapter of the Quran. One of the common naturally occurring iron isotopes is Fe57. Let me ask you, do you have any counter argument that completely nullifies the evidence I have presented so far? Any reasoning that limits the validity of what I have shared? Any plausible explanation that makes it conceivable that this could all be written by a human being? If so, let me know in the comments. But I genuinely doubt it. Now, you might choose to close this video and dismiss everything as a coincidence. But deep down, the rational part of you, the math in you, the science in you, the logic ingrained in you won't let you settle with that explanation. It won't let you ignore the overwhelming patterns, the precision, and the sheer impossibility of these examples being the work of mere human intellect. There is a beautiful verse in the Quran that sums this up. Do they not consider the Quran with care? Had it been from other than Allah, they would have surely found therein much discrepancy. Before I wrap up this